The WNBA experienced a massive structural paradigm shift on June 30th, 2026, as the latest national power rankings dropped a genuine bombshell across the women's basketball landscape, vaulting the Minnesota Lynx to the undisputed #1 spot over the star-studded super teams that have traditionally dominated media headlines. While the basketball world trained its collective focus on the high-stakes $500,000 Commissioner's Cup championship clash between the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty at Barclays Center, head coach Cheryl Reeve's squad quietly built an undeniable case for league supremacy. Sitting atop the standings with an impressive 15-4 record, this ranking represents far more than a temporary hot streak or a fortunate stretch of scheduling. It marks a fundamental shift in how analysts, fans, and rival front offices must evaluate the 2026 championship landscape. Historically, the conversation surrounding true title contenders has been monopolized by the glamorous rosters in Nevada and New York, yet, as the month of June draws to a close, it is the tactical execution and unselfish culture of the Twin Cities that sits at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. What makes this sudden ascent a genuine shockwave across the sports media ecosystem is the immense adversity under which it was achieved, defying preseason projections and demonstrating a level of organizational depth that few roster models can match. The core narrative of Minnesota's brilliant campaign is their ability to execute a dominant 15-4 run while missing their absolute anchor, as perennial MVP runner-up Nafisa Collier remains sidelined following off-season ankle surgery. When a franchise loses an Olympic-caliber forward who dictates both the offensive spacing and the interior defensive rotation, the standard operational procedure is typically to weather the storm, fight to maintain a .500 winning percentage, and hope to sneak into the lower bracket of the postseason. Instead, the Lynx constructed an environment where secondary options, veteran acquisitions, and incoming rookies could immediately step into high-usage roles without a single drop in overall team efficiency. Minnesota has won 13 of their last 15 contests since late May, proving that their success is anchored in an uncompromising, high-execution system that simply refuses to beat itself. This defensive-minded, ball-moving identity has allowed them to outlast teams with far more top-heavy star power, completely upending the narrative that super teams are the only viable path to a WNBA title in the modern era. To fully comprehend how the Lynx shocked the basketball world by leaping ahead of the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces and a deeply talented New York Liberty team, one must trace the timeline of their mid-season evolution and ultimate resilience. Minnesota's climb back to the top of the power rankings for the second time this season is built on a foundation of consecutive, gutsy performances that highlighted their mental toughness. Following a shocking 84-79 late-game collapse against Sonia Citrone and the Washington Mystics, many pundits wondered if the short-handed Lynx were finally beginning to show cracks under the immense pressure of maintaining a top-tier seed. The response from Cheryl Reeve's group was immediate and definitive, as they rallied from a 12-point fourth-quarter deficit in the back half of that home-and-home series against Washington to lock down defensively and steal a thrilling 78-76 victory. They followed that statement win by heading directly into Arlington and methodically dismantling the dangerous Dallas Wings 85-77, proving that while rival contenders stumble through chemistry issues, health crises, or schematic friction, the Lynx function as the most disciplined machine in professional sports. The individual driving forces behind this collective excellence are anchored by a spectacular mid-career renaissance from veteran forward Natasha Howard, whose signing was initially viewed by many as a steadying depth move rather than a franchise-altering transaction. At 34 years old, Howard is putting together an all WNBA caliber campaign, playing with a level of physical urgency and interior dominance that has forced opposing front courts to completely adapt to her tempo. Her performance over the final week of June perfectly epitomizes her immense value to the roster, as she recorded 21 points and 15 rebounds against Washington before backing it up with another 21 points and 14 rebounds against a highly physical Dallas front line. Howard's unique mobility out of high pick-and-roll actions, combined with her uncanny ability to protect the rim while playing hyper-disciplined position defense, has successfully mitigated the absence of Collier's unique interior gravity. She has anchored the painted area with a veteran calmness, serving as a reliable safety valve for the offense and a defensive communicator who keeps the entire team aligned. While Howard provides the interior anchor, the true catalyst for the team's perimeter explosiveness has been the rapid, historic emergence of rookie guard Olivia Miles, who has completely bypassed the typical first-year learning curve, stepping into an incredibly high-usage role with zero hesitation. Miles has put the rest of the league on notice with an offensive repertoire that combines elite court vision with an aggressive, three-level scoring mentality. Her stat lines over the final week of June were nothing short of phenomenal, as she eclipsed the 21-point mark in consecutive games against Washington and Dallas, matching Howard's scoring outputs claw for claw while orchestrating the entire half-court offense. Miles possesses an elite basketball IQ that allows her to effortlessly manipulate defensive coverages out of high screen actions, reading the help defense a split second before it rotates. Paired with the veteran poise of Courtney Williams in the backcourt, Minnesota has created an offensive tandem that leads the entire league in assist-to-turnover ratio over the past 30 days, ensuring that every possession yields a high-quality look. This brilliant synergy between veteran leadership and rookie exuberance is a direct testament to the systemic excellence of head coach Cheryl Reeve, who celebrated a historic milestone-heavy weekend, just as her team captured the league's top ranking. On Saturday night, Reeve was formally inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in Knoxville, Tennessee, cementing her legacy as one of the greatest architectural minds in the history of the sport. Less than 24 hours later, she stood on the sidelines in Texas, securing her 379th career victory to tie the legendary Mike Thibault for the most regular season coaching wins in WNBA history. Reeve enters the month of July with an immediate opportunity to break the all-time record, a fitting milestone for a coach whose current tactical philosophy has transformed a short-handed roster into the most feared unit in basketball. Reeve's system relies heavily on continuous off-ball player motion, meticulous space creation, and aggressive help-and-recover defensive schemes that force opponents into elongated, highly contested possessions that exhaust the shot clock. The underlying statistical data heavily supports Reeve's tactical adjustments, revealing that Minnesota sits near the top of the league in secondary assists, deflections, and points scored off opponent turnovers. Because the Lynx do not possess the isolation-heavy scoring talent of a healthy Las Vegas or New York roster, their half-court execution requires unselfish ball movement where players consistently hunt for a great shot rather than settling for a good one. This philosophy creates a balanced scoring distribution that makes them incredibly difficult to scout or game plan against on a nightly basis, as any player on the floor is capable of launching an attack. By turning defensive rebounds into immediate transitional opportunities, Miles and Williams are given the absolute freedom to attack retreating defenses before opponents can establish their interior traps or drop into zone coverages. The resulting brand of basketball is fluid, entertaining, and ruthlessly efficient, proving that cultural alignment and schematic clarity can triumph over sheer individual star power. To fully appreciate why Minnesota's ascent to the number one spot is considered such a midseason shocker, one must analyze the chaotic regression and injury crises affecting the rest of the WNBA's elite tier as of June 30. The most glaring reason for the shift at the top is the sudden, unexpected slump of the New York Liberty, who have seen their overall regular season form deteriorate rapidly, despite holding a flawless 6-0 record within Eastern Conference play for the Commissioner's Cup. The Liberty have slipped to a 12-8 record after dropping 4 of their past 5 contests, culminating in an abysmal 76-67 loss to the expansion Golden State Valkyries, where New York managed to score a mere 29 points in the entire first half. The Liberty are facing unprecedented offensive stagnation as Brianna Stewart struggles from beyond the arc, shooting a career-low 21.1% from three-point range over this recent stretch, while Sabrina Ionescu continues to be severely hampered by an ongoing back injury that has restricted her to just 8 appearances and dropped her scoring average to less than 10 points per game. While New York Slides, the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces, remain a razor-thin margin behind Minnesota, sitting at 14-5 and posing the most immediate threat to the Lynx's newly acquired crown. Led by powerhouse center A'ja Wilson, who is authoring an extraordinary historic individual season, averaging over 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. The Aces are playing with an elevated sense of urgency as they attempt to reclaim their traditional spot at the top of the mountain. The recent return of dynamic guard Chennedy Carter from a 5-game illness has provided Becky Hammond's squad with the aggressive bench scoring punch they desperately lacked in mid-June, revitalizing their secondary units and giving their offense a terrifying structural balance. The impending battle between Minnesota's elite team defense and Las Vegas's unstoppable individual scoring options promises to be the defining storyline of the summer, as both franchises prepare for a grueling July schedule that will test their depth. Simultaneously, the expansion Golden State Valkyries have emerged as the absolute wildcard of the league, engineered by a massive 4-spot surge in the power rankings after their dominant defensive performance against New York on Sunday. The Valkyries have quickly established an identity rooted in physical perimeter pressure, transition scoring, and a fearless attitude that allows them to compete with veteran championship cores despite their lack of shared franchise history. Their rapid ascent has injected an extra layer of chaos into the top half of the standings, shrinking the margin for error for elite teams and ensuring that any night off can result in an unexpected blowout loss. With Dallas also remaining a highly dangerous front-court threat despite their recent loss to Minnesota, the league has reached a level of parity where the traditional boundaries between super teams and the rest of the field have been completely erased. As the calendar turns to July, the true validity and staying power of the Minnesota Lynx's #1 ranking will be subjected to an immediate, brutal crucible featuring a hostile road trip against desperate opponents. On Friday, July 3rd, the Lynx will travel to the Barclays Center to face a highly motivated New York Liberty team that is eager to avenge their recent regular season slide and spoil Cheryl Reeve's historic night as she attempts to claim the all-time coaching wins record. Following that high-profile marquee matchup, Minnesota must immediately return home to square off against the fiercely physical Connecticut Sun, a team that excels at grinding games down to a halt and punishing opponents in the paint. If Olivia Miles can continue her historic rookie output, and if Natasha Howard maintains her relentless double-double production, the Lynx will not only maintain their #1 status, but they will establish themselves as the definitive championship favorites for when Nafisa Collier finally returns to the hardwood. For now, the rest of the WNBA is left chasing a disciplined basketball team that wasn't even supposed to be in the conversation, proving that culture, coaching, and execution are still the ultimate currency in professional sports.